Hi, my name is Roger, and today we're going to talk about the new infotainment system and sharing and all the tech in the new Lynk Co. The world as we know it isn't the same anymore, so that makes interviews and test driving a bit difficult. But today I had the opportunity to do sort of virtual or long distance or video interview / test drive of the new Lynk Co 01. I got the opportunity to talk with David Green, and he's the CTO of Lynk Co, and we're talking about all the tech and the infotainment system in the car. The most interesting part maybe is the sharing part, because Lynk Co in Europe is going to make it available to share your car. It's also a bit interesting that the Lynk Co 01 is a brother car with the Volvo XC40. Polestar is a sister company to these two guys. So Polestar, Lynk Co and Volvo they're not the same cars, but they share the same platform. But they have three different systems in the cars, three different ways of handling with the user experience. And that's a bit strange, but also interesting. So that's a sneak peek of how the new system is going to work is coming up now.
This, at the moment, looks like, a Zoom call all about David, but it's not. It's all about the car. Virtual test drive. So I'm going to take you around beautiful Lindholmen and give you a chance to ask any questions you've got. Yeah?
What's your role in this project?
I'm CTO, so head geek.
So the system, is it on Android Automotive?
Yes, so Android-based system, but for a fellow geek, we're not using GAS, we're not using Google Automotive Services. We've got our own ecosystem, our own cloud, and our own app store.
Why is that?
Good question. And it
because
is
the Polestar and the Volvo is using automotive?
Yes. And we had a possible opportunity to jump on board, and there were a number of factors, and it is a difficult decision, but I think there's a balance at the moment, this moment in time, that there are not that many automotive apps. There's a fairly small number of them that are really very useful. And we can manage to achieve that. We can get the standard apps. We can get Spotify in the car. But doing it ourselves means that we can create our own ecosystem and much more easily create our own apps and services and make it easier for us to do the things like car sharing that we've done with this car.
So which apps do you think is the most important in a car? I'm really glad that Easy Park, the parking app, has come to CarPlay, because that's really convenient. And It's like Spotify, and then it's car sharing. Are there some other apps that you think are really necessary in the car?
Necessary. So let's unpack that a little bit. If you think of your phone, the apps that are necessary to me are probably different to the ones that are necessary for you. But I think we've got some good stuff. So as you can maybe see over my shoulder, we do have CarPlay and Android Auto in the car. My phone is positioned on the charging mat, and I don't need to plug it in for either of those to work, so we can use all of that. In the car, we've got our navigation system that we've done in partnership with here, and in the car, as you know, it's infotainment, isn't it? So information and entertainment. We've got Spotify built in, we've got Radio Line, we'll have Deezer and these sort of applications for music streaming. And what I said earlier is that, and I probably shouldn't play with them too much, and we'll stop in a little bit and we'll show you some of them, but we can create our own applications. We've added hardware to this car, like the Journey camera just up here, and that hardware isn't in every car, and so if we have a standard app store for all cars of all brands, we can't make use of the hardware that we've developed ourselves.
But if you're going to do your own apps, then Then you have to have some geeks. How many geeks are you?
We have a department of geeks. I hope they're not going to watch this. But also we have the opportunity then to work with other people. So one of the things that we're really trying to do is make an open ecosystem so that other people can work with us.
Is that a huge difference between Europe and China there? Do you have to redo everything here in Europe?
And not everything, but it's a different market. There are different services available, and there are different customers. So again, it gives us the opportunity to really be customized to the customers that we have.
What I've heard is that the Chinese customers don't want to rent the car, but in Europe it's a lot around car sharing and not owning your car. How do you see on that difference?
You're right in your assessment. At the moment, I think China is on fast forward. They've started this journey a little bit later than we have in Europe, and they're catching up extremely quickly. But at the moment, a car is a possession, simply that. It is a thing to own more than it is here. And in Europe, I think the car is becoming less of a possession and more of a tool. A freedom of mobility is the important thing, and that makes us think, at least, that car sharing will be more popular. And not just necessarily you own a car and you share it with other people, but we think that companies and organizations and maybe even developers will build on our platform, build their own services. Apple didn't create Airbnb. And
Lynk Co are more like Airbnb than other services, because as I imagine, the owner, the temporary owner of the car, has the right to choose to when and where and for how much he's going to share the car. Is that correct?
Exactly right. Yes. So we have created a platform essentially, and a support network and a service, but where the owner of the car takes control and shares, if they want to, with who they want to, as long as that person is within the sort of Lynk Co community as a member. And they don't have to be a member that owns a car, but as long as they've signed up, registered, that we've confirmed their driving license, then they can send a request to an owner who wants to share their car.
Is that only going to be available on the streets, or are there solutions to get into garages and that kind of thing?
That's well done. It took us a while to get to that one. Yes, you're right. You're right. There are some tricks to that. Obviously, if you need a special access, RFID card to get into an underground car park, that's going to be something to solve. But no, in the application we built in a box so that if there's a PIN code to the keypad to the car park, you can put special instructions in. Yeah.
Do you think this is going to be a service that are mainly used in the city in the center of the city, or is it going to be a suburb thing as well, that neighbors share their car with neighbors in outside of the city?
And this is just me thinking, so I can't say that we know yet, and I wouldn't put a figure on it, but I think the sharing in city compared to outside the city will look very different. In a city, you are surrounded by lots of people, so there's a ready market for you, and maybe just open sharing will be more popular in that setup. In the suburbs and the countryside, I think that this maybe is something that communities might work together a little bit more on, if you know what I mean. I was about to try, if you promise not to print it, I will try. Bostadsrättsföreningen, there you go. You know what I mean? But small communities where they're closely tied together. Well, in that scenario, you could work together, have one car, two cars, three cars, and use them for 10, 20, 30 families.
But your main business is the car, not the sharing.
Indeed. It's difficult for me, though, to say the main business is the car. we're really trying to build something more than the car, and that can sound a little bit blah blah, but genuinely, it's so easy to think about the moment of purchase when you're in this business, or when you're talking about cars. It's all about selling cars. That's not what we're about. It's about that ownership experience, about the long term, about being part of that journey. And in that journey, there are lots of places where we can interact.
I'd love to see how the sharing is going to work, but maybe we should do that when you're parked.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll pull into this handy nearby film studio, stop the car, and we can have a look at the infotainment system. Okay, good. And this, as you may understand in your business, is where you get your demo gremlin Fear. But this infotainment system. Main thing is 3 panels. We've got the navigation in the middle, we've got the media player, and actually I've got it set up so that there's car sharing, and you can see I can go out into, in my case, Apple CarPlay. And media player, we have actually got Spotify built in as a feature. Back here with the apps, but you particularly asked about car sharing. If I'm honest with you, I think most people will use the companion app to use car sharing, but this is the setup. I can set a time when I want to make the car available. I can set a time when I want it back, and I can share it with other people. And as you actually said it, I can use my car location, but I can actually create new locations. And in the app, I can put in special instructions. So that's car sharing.
In the app, can you do like every Thursday between this time and this time? It's free and it's here, and it's when you're at work you can share it and so on. So you don't have to do that every time.
Exactly. Yes, we've got more functionality in the companion app simply because we think people will actually do those, make those settings there more likely. Really, when it comes to car sharing in the car, we expect that it'll be fundamentally, a just share it now process in the car. Yeah. We'll have a quick look at the journey camera because I mentioned it. There we go. I have, and this can be fun. Click the journey camera, do camera. I can take short videos, and now you can see some of the whole setup we've got here in the car to maintain a decent connection while we drive around.
Is that sound as well? So you can do a carpool karaoke?
It is sound, yes. So if I check my settings, you can choose to record audio or not. Yeah. We also do GPS tagging. We can change the shutter sound. And the reason we have GPS partly is because obviously when you have a disclaimer, not use it where you're not allowed to, but in some places in Europe it's not allowed, so we do try and geofence so that it doesn't actually work there as well.
2, 1.
There we go. So yeah, probably something that not everybody will use. I think my mum would think that was a ridiculous thing to have in a car, but we're all different.
But is there other features that you think are going to get into the car in the future that hasn't been in the car just because people are like, that shouldn't be in the car?
There's a couple that I want to keep to myself because we need content for stories later on. But a couple of things. What have I got? No, I've not downloaded it into this car, but we've got a little game. Actually, it's more than a game. It's a scoring system and a game suggestion for long car journeys with kids called Storyteller, which is quite good fun. And we're working with a couple of people for more stuff, and we've got our own ideas. And the point I would love to make on this one is what we actually have is this, which yes is downloaded, good. So if next time, when you next get to see the car and drive it, I'd like you to open this and you can press record and give us a suggestion of what you'd like to see in the car.
For example, the old Mini Cooper Cabriolet had a special like chronograph for how many hours you had the top down. So it went up if you had the top down, and it went down when you had the top up. Is that kind of like not contest, but gamification of the car? Is that good or bad?
It's, I think, good, and this is what is exciting. So, and again, to talk a little bit nerdy, but you know, we talk about the screen and how big it is and things like that, but really what's exciting is that it's open to endless configuration. You can change it and add anything that anybody can imagine, and that's really good. And as you said before, why would you do your own thing? Well, the car as a device has got lots and lots of signals in it. Yeah, so we don't have a top down, but that is a signal on the CAN bus. We have a sunroof, or we have windows on the CAN bus. You know how open the windows are. Yeah, all of that data, I think somewhere in the region of 400 gigabytes per hour is traveling around the car. Not all of it is accessible, but some of that data is accessible to this level of the entertainment system. And if anybody can create ideas that combines different bits of data and makes it either fun or useful, and I know that we've got some things that my PR team are currently sweating that I don't talk about, but taking some of those signals, you can do, yes, gamification, either to make the journey more pleasurable or more efficient or easier, or actually do things like, try and make it more sustainable.
Is there any other difference between your system and other cars that you'd like to point out?
Well, I think, that's a little bit like saying what are the differences between your iPad and your Android tablet. It's more about what you do and what you put in it. Yeah, but I think we have...
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's the software-wise.
Exactly, and I think what we've tried to do with this is, really put the pieces of the car together in a way that make sense and give us the opportunity to do more things in the future. The car is permanently connected, as I say, when you're inside it and outside it. It's not the first time it's done, but we've really tried to think around that. So, as an example, me driving this car today, I've got a profile, but my profile is stored in the cloud. So I can change my car or hire a car. If it's a Lynk Co 01, my profile is downloaded into it and the car is set up how I like it. With a phone, there are so many developers trying to create new things that, there's so much trial and error that thousands of people will try something and the good ones will be successful. I think for the car, there's a particular sort of limitation on what you should and shouldn't do inside the car. So we need to listen to what consumers want and develop based on need.
So if I rent a car on the street, it's going to have my Spotify playlist in it when you start it?
If you've got your profile, and that includes your Spotify profile, yes. If you've set that up, that's what we will hold in the cloud.
It's not a small thing, but it's not rocket science, but it's very good.
I'm glad you understand that. It was surprisingly difficult to do.
Because it's a lot of data, or why is it difficult?
Because you've got to string a lot of things together. You've got to ensure that all your systems work together and communicate, and you've got to make sure that it communicates correctly in the car, and you are limited by some technical restrictions. So when you set off on these projects, it sounds easy, and it turns to be difficult. And what we aim to do, of course, is not really put that in your face, but just have it work. It's about the user experience, not really about the technology. And my department is going to hate me for saying that.
But how is that difference to develop for a car and for a phone? A phone can crash and nothing happens. You just reboot it. But if a car crash, it's gonna crash for real, and that is not good. So how is that development process? Because bugs aren't allowed.
No. Now, the first thing I should say is that we have separation of systems. I mean, physically. So you can't create an app and get on that signal database. Yeah. But you're absolutely right, and this is why there's not thousands of people developing for cars. There's not a standardized system really yet, and there's not a signal database that matches all the different manufacturers. So, but we can help and onboard and work with developers who have the ability and capability and interest in creating stuff for this car, and give them an SDK that they can work with within a safe framework. What we have to go through that your phone doesn't, I think, and even more, is user experience, so that it's safe and non-distracting in the car. And there's not really clear regulatory guidelines around that, so we have to have very clear processes and controls and testing for that sort of thing. And of course, stability within the car. And we are a little bit, limited by the available memory and how many things that you can run at the same time within a car at the moment. But as that improves and as we can hold more things in the cars, the possibilities increase. And it's not just about what is in the car. We have the digital keys, and we have the location of the car, the settings of the car, the range of the car. All of these things are sitting on the outside, and people can develop services around that as well.
Yeah, how is that going to work with refueling and recharging of the car when you share it?
Good question. So, fairly straightforward, the way that you would expect us to do it. When you set off on your journey, the amount of fuel that is in it is recorded. When you bring it back, the amount of fuel that is there when you return is recorded. And the delta can be charged based on a fee that the user sets up. Yeah. And actually, it can work the other way around. I mean, again, it's not us necessarily setting the pricing models, but if you fill the car up when you're on your journey and you actually bring it back with more fuel, then you could get a credit against your journey as well.
I'm lucky to change car every week, but usually people don't do that, so they have their car. And when I change car, my home base is CarPlay, because that is the same in every car. Do you think in the future cars are going to be more similar, like in form of infotainment, or is it going to be like is Google going to take over this and every car is going to look the same, or is it going to be like this there are today, like Polestar and Volvo is both using the same system, but it looks and behaves and is very different?
Yeah, we're on the beginning of that journey, aren't we? So I mean, I don't know what the future is like. I can tell you what I would like it to be. I think Google will make a big impact and will really do good things in the car space. Yeah, and it is important that we start to think about the car space for the time being as something new. It's no good just taking the screen and putting the buttons in the screen, because you haven't got that tactile touch and feel. And in the same way, it's no good just taking an iPad and putting it in the car and hoping it'll work. It needs to be a total user experience for this setup. I think CarPlay has done this really well, and it's really good, and I'm sure Google will do the same. And with Google, of course, the OEMs, car manufacturers, can create their own UX and experience around that. I think what we would like to do is try to give people a reason not to just go to CarPlay as a default. In your situation, as I said, you have your user profile. You can get in a different car. Okay, it has to be another Lynk Co 01, but your setup goes with you. You don't need to reconfigure. And I hope that we can give you content and experiences that are, because it's built upon the hardware and the signals in the car and uses them as well as we possibly can, that we can give you better experiences so that you stay in the Lynk Co ecosystem.
Yeah, I totally understand, but it's kind of fun that Polestar and Volvo and you guys are doing 3 separate systems that behaves, and they are different from the user perspective. They are very different.
Yes,
and it's rather strange that there's so few key points that are the same in the systems.
Yes, but I think for the time being, and we're at a moment where it's still possible to do it, you should take that opportunity. And one of the things that I think will differentiate between cars and brands is the user experience. And then, what is it about this car that really makes it stand out? Well, honestly, it's great. All the materials are lovely, everything's in the right place, but it's not so different to any other car, It all works like that. The bit of the experience that is different sort of starts here in the connectivity, and I think that's why we really wanted to be able to own it.
If you look back in the smartphones, in the beginning of the Android era, everyone was doing the same thing, and the reason was partly because Google hadn't done all the features, but PR-wise it was like, because we want to do it or with our experience and so, and now down the line it's
We're doing it again with cars.
Clean, and it's clean Android with everyone is looking almost the same. It's. Do you think we're going to go that line as well, or are they going to be more separated?
It seems likely that we will go that way, because as you say, people get used to an experience. However, it may be the case because not everybody changes their car so often that it's a slower journey to there. And on that journey, because there aren't as many cars as there are handsets, I think there may be more opportunity for people like us to be able to still create our own experiences one way or another.
I'm really friendly to car sharing. I've tried all the services, and everything is. I'm really interested in this part, but when it's my own, it's a bit more scary. Mm-hmm. Do you think that's going to be a problem for long, or just in the beginning?
I hope that it's just in the beginning.
Yeah.
Let me say two things about that. I think we're becoming, if we were just out of the blue, if this was never before done, I think it would be a very hard and difficult long journey. But we're not. You share your house, There are companies that where you share your power tools, and we're more used to that setup, much more. And I think over the last 2 years or so, we've become much more aware of, the importance of, sustainability, or using our resources sensibly. And a car is an incredibly expensive thing that you pay for not using, basically. So I think the understanding of that is more. And with our membership set up, and with the fact that we've got such a good support network for the service, I think people hopefully will trust it from the beginning, and it will happen. And as I said, it may not be then, people like you who have a new Lynk Co 01 and are enthusiastic about sharing it, but I think there are other opportunities, like companies who have a pool car fleet, or engineer cars that are used during the day for business and maybe used as open sharing in the evening or with their employees, or apartment blocks and these sort of things. I think there are many cases where this sort of increasing the utilization makes so much sense for otherwise wasted tools. Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So long.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So that was some new things about the Lynk Co 01. I hope you found this interesting. If you do, please subscribe and give a thumbs up. My name is Roger, and this was all for now.